Greetings and welcome to another Diablo 4 video. Today I want to talk more about the Flurry Rogue, which I am in the process of refining and giving you an update. I reached world tier 4. I unlocked it even previously, but I'm comfortable playing on world tier 4 now after thinking around with the build a little bit, moving around paragons, moving around abilities, and yeah, just to give you an update. So quickly going over some of the gear first. We are working with Shadow and Cold Imbuement, and this one gives us +4 ranks to both of them. It's not ideal because we actually don't need the Cold Imbuement as much as you need, for example, some cooldown reduction would be great on the helmet. The armor also is not like on the best roll. It has a lot of imbuement and imbued skill damage, added with some cold damage, which is great. But in general, the chest is something that you go for defensive stats like damage reduction or closed damage reduction, like close enemies damage reduction or armor. This gives us a lot of plus damage though, so it's good if we can survive still. So I'm still running Grasp of Shadows because it gives 3+ to all core skills, so +3 to Flurry. We're not using any other core skill. I'm not spec'd into Lucky Hit as much anymore. So while this is nice, a little bit extra damage, I would like some other gloves. Still, the +33% vulnerable damage is huge as long as the attack speed, and of course the +3 ranks to all core skills. Other than that, on gloves you're also looking for a crit chance, for example. That would be great. As for the pants, this is some defensive option here. We have dodge chance against close enemies, which is actually great. We have some willpower that doesn't really do much for us, but well, it's there as long as some life regeneration and all stats. What we're looking for in pants is of course damage reduction, imbuement skill, cooldown reduction, armor, and then like damage reduction close to distant enemies or dexterity. So we'll be looking for some better pants here. The legendary aspect gives me more armor, which is great. It's just the basic one that you can find, and you just imprinted in that. We're still running the unique boots here with the Trail of Frost. I am sometimes swapping for these ones where I imprinted the Shadow Step, which gives me another charge on Shadow Step, and the attacks reduces evades cooldown. I like that better. I have more evade because I'm constantly attacking and I'm just resetting the evade cooldown. On the Penitent Greaves, unfortunately, there's only the evade grants movement speed, which is kind of a different play style, defensive-wise, which I still need to get used to. Other than that, the movement speed is kind of nice. Crowd control duration is nice to have, but in general, in boots we look for movement speed, that's good, but also movement speed after lethal kill, for example, or energy cost reduction, or something to all stats. I found this one, which is great because because it has a max perfect roll on the imbuement skill effects, have 80% increased points against vulnerable enemies. Oh my goodness, I need to clear this out. And yeah, come on. I have a video to make, don't disturb me. So, sorry about that. And also look at the massive +56% vulnerable damage. That's just massive, like the first stat here. And then damage to crowd control enemies, which we have. Damage to poison enemies, which also happens for us because we use poison traps. Plus dexterity, unfortunately it's the anti-perfect roll here. And then damage to chill enemies. So this two-handed weapon gives us a massive damage boost, and I socketed plus critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Because we're basically always having them vulnerable, we're making vulnerable with puncture, and then Flurry makes them all vulnerable. So this is just a super good roll. Super good roll in terms of affixes, but not the highest rolls individually. But still pretty great. Rapid Choker here, basic skills gain attack speed. It's just very convenient because we are hitting a lot with the basic skills since we are building up combo points. And then like the usual, some imbuement skills plus is good. We don't really need the ranks to deadly venom passive, like Poison Trap is just a tool for us more than a damage source. And then the damage plus low rolled a little bit. We are looking for cooldown reduction amulet. So this is a huge one that I'm missing. It could have like, I think up to 15% or something like that. That's something we're missing. So we're missing cooldown reduction on the helmet and on the amulet, which makes this build sometimes a bit clunky in terms of downtime because we don't have cooldowns up all the time. So we are sometimes starved for cooldowns, but this can only improve. So looking forward to some good amulet and helmet here. Then we have another ring where we are also looking for like crit chance and crit damage. We don't have this here, but we have imbuement skill damage, which is nice. Critical strike damage with imbued skills, which is also nice. And this can usually can roll higher than just critical strike damage. Like for example, critical strike damage may be rolled up to 16%, maybe. Like it's just random number now. But if it's critical strike damage with imbued skills, it can roll higher because it's conditional. Also, damage to slowed enemies is great because we are slowing all the time, and damage to chilled enemies. So overall, this is a pretty good ring, and it has the mandatory Flurry imprint here. Here there is the imprint of skill steal up to 18% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast, receiving the maximum benefit value of full primary resource. So this one is important. It looks like it's not great because only 18% or like up to 20, but it's a multiplier. So it is multiplying your damage, like all additive damage gets multiplied here by 18%. I'm just going in here before the monsters come at me again. So we'll be doing a little dungeon here to showcase the current state of the build, and there's so much talks about the build. Let me go over the gear and the abilities, and then afterwards go over the Paragon just to split it up a bit. And then lastly, the weapons. I found some ancestral ones, which is huge. They're not perfect, but they had a huge damage boost, and of course they both come with critical strike damage because they are swords. Then here we have critical strike damage for imbued skills, which is great. Damage to chilled enemies is great. All sets is great, but it's a low roll. Dexterity is great. So that's also what we're looking for, but mostly would be vulnerable damage, something like that, and damage to closed enemies would be great. And I have the imbuement. It triggers an imbued explosion, which is also pretty good for the build. And lastly, we have here some vulnerable damage, which is good. Damage to frozen enemies is okay. Ultimate skill damage we don't need at all. So I either reroll this or wait for a better weapon. And then damage to close enemies is good. And then I imprinted this using an agility skill, reduce the cooldown of your next subterfuge skill by 20%. Using a subterfuge skill, increases the damage of my next agility skill. So Shadow Step and Poison Trap work in tandem, and we can reduce some of the cooldown of Poison Trap like by 2 seconds. Again, we need more cooldown reduction desperately. Any cooldown reduction, please. Alright, so specialization, combo points, and abilities. Let's go to the skill tree. It hasn't changed much, I guess. Maybe in some passive. So 1 into puncture, enhanced puncture, fundamental puncture for triggering vulnerable. Then Flurry maxed out, Gallop improved. These two passives, wait, I make it bigger. These two passives, Sturdy and Siphoning Strikes for sustain. Then I have Shadow Step, Enhanced, and Methodical because I kind of like the stun. You can go without these, I guess. Especially if you're not running the imprint for 2 charges of Shadow Step, so you're not using it as much. Sometimes I like it, especially against bosses. It's nice because they get staggered a lot by the stun. Weapon Mastery we have here. Then we have 1 into Poison Trap, Enhanced, and Countering Poison Trap for a chance to reset imbuement skill cooldown, which is very huge. Malice and Exploit here. And this one I added Agile. It says using a cooldown increases your dodge chance by 12% for 3 seconds. So imagine we have cooldown reduction, then we will always be using some skill or other, either Shadow Step or Poison Trap or Cold Imbuement or Shadow Imbuement. Like this uptime is probably permanent, and it's a flat 12% increase in dodge, which is great because dodge has diminishing returns. So as you see here, or dodge chance is 6%, and it says as the stat increases, additional bonuses become less effective. So I'm assuming if you have plus dodge, like this 6 against close enemies here, then here you see your total dodge chance from close enemies is 11.6. So 6 plus 6 is 11.6. But if we use a skill, it's actually 18% here. It's gone again. Wait, why does it move? And here 22.9. So the 8. Wait, how much is it? Oh, I'm confused. 12%, exactly. It has some diminishing returns on this one, right? Yeah, like 1% diminishing returns, but it is a flat increase on this dodge chance. So it actually, it's a huge boost to dodge chance. Anyways, going back, and 5 points in the Shadow Imbuement. We have it to 12 actually because of our plus skills. Enhanced Shadow Imbuement and Blended Shadow Imbuement. This is actually wrong, but I know that I'm seeing this. I needed a mix because I was toying around, because we don't need the vulnerable, because we're already putting vulnerable to everything with Flurry. This is much better. We have some ranks to Poison Imbuement. I didn't put any in it, but I was toying around with it, and you can use it aside from Poison Trap, but you will see why we use Poison Trap in a minute. So Cold Imbuement, we only have 1, but 7 from items. We don't really need much from items. It's just the chill amount goes higher, which isn't really that impactful, but it's nice to have, I guess. And then this I don't really like, so I'm debating maybe I should remove all of these points, because Enhanced Cold Imbuement doesn't really do much for us. I have on a lucky hit a chance to make enemies vulnerable, but I'm already making them vulnerable with Flurry, so I don't like this wasted point here, but we needed to get here, which means Cold Imbued skills deal 20% times X, or like multiplier, damage to crowd controlled enemies. Double this against Frozen. So this is a huge damage boost. Because again, it's a multiplier because of the X here. Then I put in here 15% to Chilled, or 30 against Frozen, which is also huge. And Precision Imbuement for more crit strike. And lastly, I have this Trap Mastery, which I read it wrong first. I thought that it gives me 12% increased critical strike chance to the enemies affected by poison or trap, but it says here flat against vulnerable and crowd control enemies, so they don't need to be affected. So just planning down the poison trap and it being activated gives me 12% increased critical strike chance for 4 seconds. And now, if we have more CDR, more cooldown reduction, we can do this more often. So this was a huge discovery for me in a way, and I think this is a pretty great stat to have. And then I went here with 1 into Adrenaline Rush to get haste, to have more movement speed, just a bit of convenience. I'm not sure if I really need that. I guess it's more for speed running dungeons. We could use it somewhere else. This is flex points, I would say. And that's why I removed some of this with the increased lucky hit chance, so we're not really a lucky hit build. Close quarters combat to round it all out. I tried doing it with momentum. It was okay. I don't really like having to do a lot of stuff or keeping the up time. It is easier if you have 2 shadow step charges, because then you're already stunning and attacking from behind. So both are viable. I like close quarters combat more because I really like the attack speed, and also we get more damage to crowd control enemies, which they are with the chill from Penitent Griefs anyways. So it's again a multiplier. Whew, that's a lot. How long have we talked already? 13 minutes and no gameplay? My goodness, this game is crazy. So much to talk about the build. Okay, let's go then. Paragon maybe at the end, so we can split it a little bit. So basically, let me get into it first. What I want to do is Shadow Step, lay down the trap, and then just go big damage with my imbuements. I want a bigger attack. Well, yeah, I forgot to Shadow Step first, but it doesn't really matter. And you will see when we go to the Paragon that I invested a lot into survivability, because I feel like I already got so much damage that what's the biggest hindrance in progressing further is surviving the enemies, which yeah, can be a pain, especially on higher torments. Other than that, gameplay-wise, try to get the imbuement. And you see now we have downtime, we don't have any imbuement up, and this will be getting better. The more Paragon points I can invest into cooldown reduction for imbuement skills, and also cooldown reduction on helmet and amulet. I think you can amount like 30% for like 15 each, and 30% cooldown reduction would be like 3 seconds less, up to like almost 4 seconds less on my imbuements, which is huge. Which is probably exactly what I needed to make a 100% uptime. And we also have the rare cliff that gives me 0.0 cooldown reduction whenever I use an imbuement spell, like 0.5 seconds to another imbuement. No, I don't know if the sound of the game is too loud. If so, I apologize. I'm still figuring it out for Diablo 4. Seems fine though. Sometimes I guess it can get loud. So there is an argument to drop cold imbuement entirely and go poison imbuement, and I hear you. It seems like on paper it's more damage because cold, what's cold gonna do? It's just freezing them. But as you saw, we have some abilities or passives that gives us plus damage to chill and then double that on frozen enemies. So I still feel that cold does a lot of damage, and I like the fact that it does direct damage because poison is ticking, and what are you gonna do until it ticks down, until it does its damage? You're getting hit, and getting hit sucks because getting hit means you need a lot of defense, even more so. So that's my philosophy behind it. I like it better, and for me, for like as of now, plays very well. So I want to stick to cold over poison, but you can toy around with it. You can even, I guess, drop shadow imbuement for poison and then go like that. You can even go triple imbuement. You can like drop the poison trap and just yeah, go nuts with triple imbuement. And I tried that. It's neat, and it also works pretty well. I like the knockback though from poison trap, sometimes the 30% chance of resetting my imbuement cooldowns, and now with the passive like 12% crit for 4 seconds. So all I need is more cooldown reduction, more paragons, and this will only get better. So we're already at the 18-minute mark for this video. Let's show a little bit more gameplay and then call it a day. Let's see. Okay. But sometimes, as you can see, I'm not like following the right order of skills. It's supposed to be Shadow Step, Poison Trap, and then Imbuement. Especially since if I cast Imbuement, I will have this Imbuement explosion that applies to Imbuement also. So they are already chilled if I do that. And that's also why there's an argument to not use Penitent Graves. Penitent Griefs. It's nice to have the chill always with you here. But since the Flurry, I think, has a wider range, at least visually, so does your cold imbuement explosion, I think. You're already chilling them, so you already have the crowd control that gives you like all these passives or all these plus damages, so you could also do that. I mean, it's just, if your cold imbuement is on cooldown, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna chill them, huh? So with the Penitent Griefs, we're still chilling them, so we're good. Like right now everything is on cooldown, which is the worst. But we can manage because our Flurry does a lot of damage. Let me go back here. No, don't hit me. Let's show you a little bit more of the stats and the Paragon. And in terms of stats, I mean, there's some interesting things to look at, like accumulated, for example, critical strike damage is 100%, and it's a base value of 50, so we get like, we have from gear like 50%. Some attack speed bonus. Critical strike chance is pretty low still. I mean, if imbued skills is plus 9%, if you lay a trap, it's another 12%, so I like to have some on gloves and some on rings, but we'll see about that. The big thing that I want to mention is vulnerable damage. So this is a base value of 20%. If you make something vulnerable, you have no plus vulnerability from gear, you have 20% more damage against vulnerable targets. We have 138%, which is huge. I'm guessing this can go even higher, but like this is our bread and butter. Like after the enemy is vulnerable, we deal more than double of damage because this is multiplicative. Like takes all the damage we do and then just times one, like adds 138% of it on top. So this is huge. And then also damage dealt by your skills that are enhanced. So this means our flurry. It doesn't mean the shadow explosion from shadow imbuement. It means if I imbue my flurry with shadow imbuement, then my flurry will do another plus 115%. Not plus, I think it's also multiplicative if I'm not wrong. So yeah, that is great, and also with the imbuement skill itself, like a little bit of damage. But moving on to the Paragon, oh, we got another point. That's good. So I tinkered around with this yesterday, and I changed some glyphs. They are now like very low, but I tried to min-max them out in terms of like what nodes are there, and I need to like get them to level 15 so they get another range. But in general, like this is a starter one, and I got the closer to it because it gives me cutthroat skill damage, which is the flurry skill. It is a cutthroat skill. And also, I guess, Shadow Step is a cutthroat skill. And the important part is when I'm wielding, or while wielding a melee weapon, which is all the time. I don't know if they mean just equip it or just really attack with it, but I take 10% reduced damage. So there we get some sustain and some survivability, along with here some armor. Yeah, armor, by the way, is the best defensive stat as of right now. Like plus resistances is garbage, but I don't want to go into that. I think Kriparian has a very, very nice video about that, so you can go to his channel and check that out. Shout out to his research, it's very great, and armor is like the best, so that's why I replaced the diamonds here with skulls that give me armor. Okay, back to the Paragon. There's a lot to talk about here. I'm so sorry. And then I added the Cunning Stratagem board. And you would think like, what? This is garbage. And probably is because non-damage common point bonuses, we don't really have that with Flurry. But I'm just going in here a little bit because this board for this glyph has the most plus strength in reach. Like after I upgrade this level 15, it has another 5, 5, and another 5 here. I probably can do this, I don't know. And I looked at every board, at every glyph socket, and this one is the best for turf, which gives me another 10% damage reduction against close enemies, along with increased damage to close targets. That's why we just glance over it here. It has some nice stuff, actually. I mean, the basic skill damage and stuff, it's additive, so it's not that great, but you can just go here, and there will be a board here, if I'm recalling correctly. I need to see. And then we got the Eldritch Bound, which is for the imbued skills, and doing more damage with imbuements and stuff. And we got the Infusion, which we had before, and this is the one where casting an imbuement skill reduces the active cooldown of another random imbuement. So a little bit of cooldown reduction for the imbuement, which is nice, but a lot of imbued skill damage. So if we go back, as I told you, imbued skill damage means increased damage dealt by skills that are enhanced by imbuement. So this is for Flurry, actually. And we want to have imbuement all the time, which means we need more cooldown reduction. And then just get some notes. I got this one. I'm not meeting the requirements yet, but other than that, it gives dexterity, and this one, oh, it goes up with intelligence, yeah, but still, like there's some intelligence notes here, which is okay. I think this could be better thought out. Maybe I need to take another look at this glyph socket, but as far as it goes now, I need more Paragon points. Right, so yeah, that's the build. I hope you liked it. It was a long one. I'm sorry about that. I try to get better on these videos and those builds. I don't know how condensed I can do this. Maybe So I'm working on an Excel sheet that I want to share, like on stats, priorities, and on legendary aspects. So I don't need to go over all of these, and I can just give out the information that you can read up, and then just go like over Paragon or skills or something. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and if you did and want to see more, please like and subscribe, you know the drill, and I will see you in the next one. Good luck, have fun, and goodbye.